road to success is brought to you by Equity Bank.
Equity Bank. You are listening, caring partner.
Thank you for joining us on Road to Success, the key to your next level in business. This week, our guest is Esther Moneki of Lapid Leaders Africa, who believes that the time for change for Africa is now and using the youth, right? Why are you so passionate about that?
One of the advantages that the continent has is that over 60% of the continent population is the youth. I think that's a gold mine in itself. There are not many continents that can talk about having such numbers. They say that the youngest population, generally speaking, is in Africa, with actually Uganda having the youngest population in the whole world. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think that it's a gold mine. But then when you also combine that with the fact that there's a lot more exposure, so young people have access to technology, and that then makes them able to do greater things than previous generations, and then you have a very stable, well, reasonably stable continent. You combine those three things and it could definitely be Africa's time.
Tell us about Lapid Leaders Africa.
Lapid Leaders Africa is an organization that exists to prepare young adults to be values-driven leaders and entrepreneurs in the marketplace. Our mission is to prepare the youth to be leaders, but not just leaders, but values-driven leaders for Africa.
When you say value-driven leaders, perhaps elaborate on that a bit.
Our belief is that what Africa lacks at the moment is not necessarily leaders, but leaders who are able to live a value-driven life. A values-driven life is a person who thinks not just about themselves and about what is in need for me, for example, but they think about the people that they serve. So one of our big values is around servant leadership. I think that if we can get many more servant leaders in this continent, many of the problems that we have at the moment would be significantly solved, because a servant leader is then able to not just think about what am I getting in any situation, but how can I serve my people. And so we are raising people who first are not leaders, but they are servants, and then they are leaders second.
Leadership equals politics. How do you change that whole narrative for people, that leadership does not necessarily have to be in politics for young people?
I actually use very basic examples, and I'll use one now. So when I'm driving around on Sunday, one of the experiments that I like to do, I think Sunday is the easiest day to do with this experiment, is traffic lights. So when traffic lights, ordinarily as a citizen, we've been taught not to follow traffic lights. So if it says red, and red means stop, I stop. I do the countdown from 50 up until it goes to green. But I'm always amazed by the fact that every time I stop, other vehicles stop. Because that's leadership. I could sit there and complain about how government doesn't do this, that, or the other, or politicians are doing this, that, or the other. But the reality is, in my small spaces, I'm able to influence a lot of things, and that's leadership. And so that's what we teach our young adults, that in the very small spaces, you actually set the tone for how things will be done. That's one example. Another example we use is the workplace. When you go to many workplaces nowadays, you find many young people are disengaged and do not actually give their best to any workplace. But we've tested this. Every time there's one person who settles in an organization and they're committed to their work, they will deliver with excellence, because that's what values are, you begin to see the difference with the other young people. And that's leadership. And so what we've done is we've demystified leadership. And we've made it that leadership is influence, and you can literally influence anybody. And for that reason, you don't have to be a politician. You could be a politician if that's where you feel like that's where you need to be, but that doesn't mean that if you're not a politician, you're not a leader. We are all leaders in our own spaces.
Where is the influence of family when it comes to value that is then translated to the young people that you're working with?
One of the things that we've done as families is we've forgotten the whole conversation on values. We've become very big on success. We talk to our students and our children about success. Are you getting A? Are you getting an A minus? But we hardly talk about the values that they need. And when you think about it, and this is something that has someone who says this, education without values creates devils. When you think about the exams, the KCP, KCSE, how parents are literally the ones who are paying for their students to get an exam leakage, I don't think it can go lower than that. How do you then tell a student after that you can't steal from the government You literally stole for me to get to where I am. Success has been so overrated at the expense of the values that we need to instill. And I talk a lot with young people. We have a lot of one-on-one sessions. And what I hear from young people is the inconsistency. They don't get the inconsistency. And people don't learn from what you say. They learn from what you do. So we need to go back to the families and ask ourselves, what do we want to be? And are we willing to pay the price for what we want to be? Because that's what values are about. You've got to be willing to pay the price for that value.
And do you at any one time engage the families when it comes to implementing these values? Because it has too much, isn't it? I mean, because they can't come and listen to you, teach them about values or talk about values, and then they go home, it's a different story. Do you ever put the parents together with the youth who you're training?
Our graduations have to be attended, or generally speaking, have to be attended by the guardians and the parents. And that's where they begin to see the conversation for values unfolding. And I'm always amazed. I mean, parents for young people have become some of my closest friends. Some of the students were telling me how their parents, anytime they're in a forum, the first thing they tell them, can you talk about Lapid before you even introduce yourself? So we've gotten to the point where the parents have bought into the vision, because initially that was a challenge. And that's the first level. So they always have to engage at the graduation level, and then we have that conversation. The second level, which we haven't gotten to, is just building forums where we talk with parents and the young people around that whole conversation of values. We haven't gotten to it, but we definitely need to get there at some point. But the other advantage that we have is the kind of people we work with. We are working with young people who are not necessarily extremely young. They're just about to finish university, so they're able to form their own independent thoughts. And that helps as well a lot. So if you enforce and you're able to speak that conversation continuously, they're the ones actually who begin to have the conversation with their parents, which for me is an amazing process.
Esther, what does one need to do to be part of the program?
So we have 2 entry points. One of the entry point is what we call 2-day seminars. We have 2-day seminars biannually when we invite market leaders to come and share their experiences. And that helps people to just engage with the brand from the onset, just to figure out, is this something that I'm interested in? So ordinarily people come in for the 2-day seminar. The second entry point is an open day. We have several open days. And then once you've done all those, if you're interested in the program, you then apply and just join the next cohort.
What do you look for specifically, so in case somebody wants to apply?
The mindset of you're ready. We find that not everybody is ready to be able to engage with leadership conversations, and that's primarily around age. So if you, generally speaking, between 20 and 26 is our target. We make exceptions depending with, because some people you'll find that they've been bred in such a way that they can do earlier or later. But generally speaking, the age group helps. So we work with 20 to 26. We also work with university students.
Esther, we'll talk about what happens to them after this break. Okay. You're watching Road to Success, the key to your next level in business. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Road to Success, the key to your next level in business. This week, our guest is Esther Moneki of Lapid Leaders Africa. By the way, why do you call yourself Lapid?
Lapid means torch in Hebrew, and we believe that what Africa needs now is people of values, and those are torches in a dark space. So if we can light up several torches, then we probably will be able to take away the darkness in the continent.
We're talking about the change that happens to them. Once they graduate, then what happens?
So the way the program is tailored, it has 3 pillars, and I'll talk about the successes in each of those pillars. First is lead self, and the idea behind lead self is you cannot lead anybody else if you cannot lead yourself. Then the second pillar is lead marketplace, and it's driven by skills that the marketplace needs. Then lastly is raising the next generation of African leaders. So for lead self, and this for me is very exciting, is for each of the students who go through the experience, there's such a heightened sense of self-awareness. So one of our success factors so far has been just a heightened sense of self-awareness among our students. I think for me that's such a big thing, and I love it. I find many people take years, get to a very old age before they know themselves, and for that reason we go through life in a very slow pace. But for these young people, I found that they get they build their self-awareness a bit earlier. Then the second aspect is lead marketplace, and the lead marketplace is about building skills for the young people. It's built on the problem that people talk about, which is that we have a lot of half-baked graduates. Graduates who are graduates, but they don't have the skills that the marketplace needs. And so we go through a lot of experiences that are supposed to build the skills that the marketplace needs. At the moment, there's actually something that they're doing within social media around the issues that they saw on the IEBC. One of the students is actually running their own campaign around their perspectives on IEBC. And I think for me, that's a powerful thing that they are doing. Then we have another student who started an initiative. They think that there is a lot of health issues. As people's lifestyles are changing, many people have issues around their lifestyle. So they started what they call Fit Farm, and they're helping people to become more fit.
Besides the leadership, you also offer entrepreneurship. Talk about that.
The way I look at entrepreneurship in Africa is in different folds. One, I think it's what we need to do, but I also think we're not doing it right. Entrepreneurship is management. Many people get into entrepreneurship because they're looking for informal things and make money very fast. I don't have systems, I don't have structures. Entrepreneurship is about solving problems in society. Even if we will give the youth funds, if you've not taught them how to put up systems and put up structures, you've just given them money to go and get lost. People are need to earn their money.
You're based in Nairobi. Yes. What happened to the other young people across the country?
Recently, about 2 months ago, one of the people that I worked with in UK said, I want to give back to my community. And so she told us, can you go to a very rural part of Nyeri, but this time work with high school students and do a 2-day program. And it was amazing because you've heard of the comment that Maurice said that people in the street don't succeed because they lack opportunities. I don't believe that's just street kids. I think it's a bulk of Kenyans. And so when we went there, I still remember because the first day we had people who were struggling even to communicate in English. Their default was even in Kikuyu because they've gone through that, grown up in the village, go to day schools in the village. Their world is the village. But I still remember that by the end of the second day, they were fighting to stand to talk because what they'd gotten was an opportunity that just doesn't come to them often. And I remember living there and thinking we need to do a lot more county experiences.
How much does it cost to join the program?
So the students pay 15,000 shillings for the 3.5-month classes.
And what lessons have you learned through this experience?
I think if you're going to get into anything, you'd better have a passion for it. And the second lesson is excellence. If you marry passion when you have passion, you're then able to deliver excellently. But we also need to build excellence as a continent. Then thirdly, it's a personal one. For me, it's God. I'm a believer. And I think I found that verse is very true, that there are many ways that you can do things, but unless the Lord builds a house, the laborers labor in vain.
What is your vision?
One day, the Lapid leaders will be the people who are running the various organizations in Africa. They're the ones who will be running the various sectors of society, from business to political to the various sectors of society. But they will not just be running them, but they'll be running them with values.
Thank you so much, Esther, for taking the time to come and share with us your story and what it is that you're doing to transform not only Kenya, but Africa. I'll never forget passion, excellence, and trusting God. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Road to Success, the key to your next level in business. Remember, leadership is action, not position. Have a blessed week.
My name is Eddie Mwangi and I'm a Lapid leader. At Lapid Leaders Africa, the key takeout which I got personally was servant leadership. I believe that becoming a leader is good, but also becoming a leader who serves the people is even better.
Everything you do in life is very intentional. Leadership is intentional in terms of leading yourself, and even leading in your career and leading others is very intentional. My name is Rose Mboro and I'm a Lapid leader.